All right, welcome. Today we are tackling a huge question. How do we build a world that works for us right now without basically bankrupting the planet for everyone who comes after us? This is the core challenge of what's known as sustainable development. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what that means. So let's just get right to it. Can we really have it all? Is it actually possible to have a booming economy, a society where everyone gets a fair shot, and a healthy, protected planet all at the same time? This is the fundamental tension we're going to unpack today. And here it is. This is the big idea, the proposed answer to that question. It's the concept of sustainable development. Now, the definition sounds simple, but it is incredibly powerful. It's not about slamming the brakes on progress. It's about redefining it, making it smarter, and actually thinking about the long game. To really wrap your hat around what this means in the real world, you've got to think of it like a juggling act, a really, really high-stakes one. It's all about trying to keep three crucial, and let's be honest, often competing goals in the air at once. So, what are we juggling? Well, here are the three pillars. First, you've got economic growth, which, drives our modern lives and standard of living. Then there's social equity. This is about fairness, making sure everyone has an opportunity. And finally, environmental protection, which is the foundation everything else is built on. Now, here's the trick. You can't just pick one or two. If you push for economic growth at all costs, you can totally wreck the environment and make inequality even worse. Real sustainability is finding that sweet spot where all three can work together. Okay, so let's be honest about why this balancing act is so incredibly urgent. For the last couple of centuries, our idea of progress has been, well, kind of one-sided, and it has come at a massive environmental cost. And at the very heart of this problem is something we all participate in: mass consumption. I mean, just think about how often we're told we need to upgrade our phones or buy the newest fashion trend. This cycle of buying and throwing things away is what fuels a lot of economic growth, but it's also putting an unbelievable strain on our planet's limited resources. And that brings us to the first huge crisis. We're just running out of stuff. We're pulling essential minerals like iron and copper out of the ground at a shocking rate. We're draining fresh water from underground aquifers for factories and farms way faster than the rain can possibly refill them. And we're cutting down ancient forests for materials that, a lot of the time, just end up in disposable goods. We're spending our planet's natural inheritance like it's never going to run out. And listen, this isn't some abstract problem for our grandkids to solve. Some forecasts suggest we could see critical shortages of key industrial minerals in just 20 years. That's basically right now. It's a challenge for us. So on top of using everything up, we have to talk about what we're leaving behind. The source material puts it pretty bluntly, but I think it gets the point across. Our industries produce a metric buttload of waste and byproducts. And this isn't just about overflowing landfills. It's a constant stream of stuff that damages our ecosystems. And that waste, it's not some abstract concept. We're talking about factories dumping chemical-filled water that gets into rivers and sometimes into our drinking water. We're talking about pollution from manufacturing that literally gets into the air we breathe, causing all kinds of serious health problems. And then, of course, there's the biggest byproduct of them all: climate change. The story really kicks off with the Industrial Revolution. That's when we started burning fossil fuels like there was no tomorrow. That lit the fuse, leading to a steady climb in temperatures all through the 20th century. And today, we're all living with the fallout. From rising seas threatening our cities to storms and wildfires that are getting more and more intense. Okay, so that's a lot. The scale of the challenge is massive, for sure. But here's the good news. We are not starting from square one. There are already some incredible global frameworks designed to get us on a much more sustainable path. Let's dive in. Let's take a look at one really interesting approach: ecotourism. The whole idea here is to make a living forest or a coral reef more valuable to people than a dead one. It creates local jobs and funnels money directly back into protecting these amazing places. I mean, the Galapagos Islands are the classic case study. They use tourism money to help protect all their unique wildlife. But, and this is a big but, it's not a perfect solution. The profits can often leak out to foreign companies instead of staying local, and sometimes the benefits only go to a handful of people in the community. Okay, so if ecotourism is one piece of the puzzle, what's the big picture? Well, that's where another major effort comes in: the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. You'll probably hear them called the SDGs. Now, this is a complete game changer. It's basically a global blueprint for a better world. And the key thing to get here is that the SDGs don't just focus on the environment. They understand that you can't save the planet without also tackling things like poverty and gender equity and education. It's all connected. You can't solve one without working on the others. So you might be thinking, great, another set of lofty goals. But how do you actually make them happen? Well, it breaks down into real, concrete actions on the ground. We're talking about things like small-scale finance, giving a local entrepreneur a small loan to start a sustainable business. It looks like investing in great public transit that cuts down on pollution and gets people to jobs. And it looks like building smarter cities with green infrastructure and renewable energy. These are the real-world steps that bring those big goals to life. All right, so we've got the problems laid out, and we've got these incredible frameworks for solutions. But the billion-dollar question is any of this actually working? Let's check the global scorecard. And the honest answer is, it's complicated. The progress is really, really uneven. On the one hand, you've got countries like Denmark that are just crushing it, making huge strides. But on the other hand, you have regions like sub-Saharan Africa, where countries are facing these immense day-to-day challenges, like food security, that make it incredibly difficult to focus on long-term sustainability goals. But look, even with all those challenges, it's not all doom and gloom, not by a long shot. We can see some real signs of a global shift happening. This chart shows us real, measurable growth in really important areas. We're seeing more investment in renewable power, and the ecotourism sector is expanding. These are solid indicators that these ideas are starting to take hold. And so we circle right back to where we started, to that ultimate balancing act. The ideas are there, we're seeing signs of real change, but that fundamental challenge, it's still right here in front of all of us. How do we, as a global community, finally figure out how to thrive within the limits of our one and only planet? The answer to that is something we're all going to have a hand in shaping, and it will, without a doubt, define the future for generations to come.